Council agenda, Township of Parsippany Troy Hills, regular Township Council meeting of October 15th, 2019.
Adequate notice of this meeting has been provided in accordance with the requirements of the Open Public Meetings Law by filing the notice in the office of the Township Clerk and by posting the meeting notice on the bulletin board at the Municipal Building on December 19th, 2018, where it has remained posted since that date. A legal notice appeared in the Daily Record and the Newark Star Ledger on December 27, 2018, and was forwarded by fax to other local newspapers and local radio stations on December 19, 2018. Council meetings are videotaped and aired on Public Access Channel 21 at 7 p.m. Sundays and Wednesdays, and are also available for viewing at www.parsippany.net.
Please rise for flag salute. Mrs. Grignani, if you would.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
Mr. DePiero,
Here.
Ms. Grignani,
Present.
Ms. McCarthy,
Here.
Ms. Peterson,
Here.
Mr. Carriffy.
Here.
Also in attendance are Mayor Michael Soriano, Business Administrator Keith Kazmark, CFO Ann Cucci, Township Attorney Jim Lott, and the Township Clerk Colette Madden. Council President, we have a quorum. You may begin.
Thank you. Upcoming meetings, November 12th, 7 p.m. agenda meeting, November 26th, 7 p.m. regular meeting. Approval of minutes, agenda meeting July 2nd, regular meeting July 16th, agenda meeting August 5th, regular meeting September 17th, agenda meeting October 1st.
Motion to approve the meeting.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. DePiero, seconded by Ms. Grignani. Roll call, Mr. DePiero,
Yes.
Ms. Grignani,
Yes.
Ms. McCarthy,
Yes.
Ms. Peterson,
Yes.
Mr. Carriffy.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Presentations, reports, Mayor?
Nothing to report, Mr. Council President. Thank you.
Township Council? Any council members?
I have a couple of things, if I may. About a month and a half ago, I raised an issue about 4-ton limit signs that were missing on Vale Road from the Montville area all the way to Route 46. The answer I got back from our business administrator was that the school district complained because the buses weigh more than 4 tons. So the engineering department's solution was to remove all the signs. Dumb decision. The purpose of the signs was to prevent trucks from using our local roads as bypasses when there's an accident on 80 or 287. We don't want the trucks finding alternate routes through our town. There was no problem with the buses, but certainly we don't want the through traffic. We get some pretty big trucks come through there when our highways are backed up. They're using our local roads as bypasses. Mr. Kazmark, I'd like the signs put back. If you want to raise it to 5 tons, fine, so the buses are okay. We had no intention of worrying about buses. They're local. It's the through traffic that we need to stop. So I would like the signs put back either with the 4 tonnage or with 5 tons, but I want the signs put back so we deter trucks from using our local roads.
Councilman, I'll revisit the issue with the engineering department.
Thank you. Another issue came forward I don't understand it, so I'll just relay it to you. I'm told that our Little League has to go out of town to practice because the PAL charges them too much. I don't know why this is true, that someplace out of town charges less than our PAL would for our own kids. Could you check into that and see what's going on there?
I will, Councilman. I'll follow up with the PAL director. I can tell you that I know that there was a meeting with Mr. Mazzarella where I believe that issue was resolved, but I will follow up and get you an answer tomorrow.
Please do. One more thing. I believe the mayor received a petition and a letter from the group up on Manor Lane with the very caustic individual who came up to visit us last month. Mayor, what can we do to help the residents in that neighborhood? Apparently warnings don't work.
I've discussed it with the petitioner already. Okay, the main petitioner being Justin DePasquale. This is a nuanced issue. This is not a simple issue. This is a neighbor-to-neighbor dispute. There's also a litigation that is pending. And because of that litigation, I really don't want to comment too much on this, but we are on it. And this is something that the building department, building inspectors, as well as the police department are on,
And Parks and Forestry.
and Parks and Forestry.
That gentleman has cut down all of the trees in his property without permission.
This has been an ongoing
cut
issue
down
since
some-
2006,
Yeah. And,
long time.
and in the meantime, warnings don't work, and he's still doing what he wants to do. Something more drastic has to be done. That's it for me, thank you.
I just have one question, Mr. Kazmark. I know I had emailed you a while ago. The issue with the Manor Lake, the dam there,
Yes.
that those properties that now their backyards are flooding because the dam's raising the lake, the pond area there. And what are we doing anything about?
So I've had at least half a dozen conversations with Mr. Lizza about this. The dam was rebuilt, as you know, a number of years ago. The water levels that currently exist there are the appropriate water levels. Now, we understand the concerns that the residents share. We do not believe that any water is actually encroaching on their private property. We do understand that there are some trees that are submerged beyond their property line. But Justin has indicated to me that that is the appropriate way that the dam was designed. I asked him to come back to see if there were any type of recommendations that would move that water line back away from those people's private properties. I can follow up with him to see if he's come up with any type of recommendations with
I
that.
know I've spoken to some of the residents there, and they were saying even if, we could put like some kind of berm or something up so that just in case it were to go a little bit higher,
Right.
it doesn't come rushing into their
I'll
property.
follow up with him and I'll mention that suggestion that the residents are making.
Thank you.
Wouldn't the dam overflow if that were the case? I mean, and flow downstream?
Well, I think the prior dam construction was compromised, and that's what kept the water level behind these folks' properties at a lower
At a
level.
lower level.
Correct. And now the dam is reconstructed to the specifications that it's supposed to be, and therefore the water levels are higher. I did specifically ask him if that water was encroaching on these folks' private property, and he indicated to me no, although if you're standing in their backyard beyond their property line, the water is
You
at
see
a
the
higher
water,
level
yeah.
than it was prior. Correct. But I'll follow up and I'll talk to Justin.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Thank you.
Okay, Township Attorney, Mr. Lott.
I have one item for closed session tonight, as noted on the agenda.
Okay. Business Administrator, Mr. Kazmar.
Thank you, Council President. Today, all of the departmental budgets were due and submitted to my office for 2020. We will begin budget hearings amongst the administration, my office, and the Chief Financial Officer beginning Monday. So the 2020 budget preparation process is underway. We have a number of personnel matters that we are dealing with on a daily basis here. Two of those we're hopeful to get concluded by the end of the month. I will be circulating some proposed dates later this month for the golf committee to meet that was formed when we met a number of weeks ago. Both the Kemper Sports Management and the catering contract at the Knoll Country Club are both set to expire in 2020. The mayor and the council agreed during a closed session that we would formulate a committee that would include Councilman DiPiero, Councilmember Peterson, and the mayor, along with myself and Ms. Cucci. So those we'll hopefully be able to call a meeting with regard to that either by late October or the first week or two of November. We are in the process of finalizing the blue-collar supervisor's contract for ratification, and I would expect that to be on the agenda for your November 12th council meeting. And with that, I just want to turn it over to our CFO, Ann Cucci, to discuss the best practices checklist, which needed to be discussed at tonight's agenda prior to her submission to the state of New Jersey.
Thank you. I just handed out, or Colette handed out, the best practice inventory. What that is the state requires us to fill out this form, and it's quite extensive. It's 84 questions, some of which are scored, what they call scored, and some are not. It's trying to understand each of the municipalities' practices in terms of procurement, personnel, a whole series of different things such as shared services, finance, cybersecurity, and we answer those questions yes, no, and then usually sometimes perspective. This is different this year because usually it's 100 questions or 80 questions and all of them are scored. But in this one, it's only 84. And 30 of the 84, 31 are not scored. So when you look at it, it's a little different. I went from and talked to every single department practically about this because it involves cybersecurity, pilots, planning. I had to reach out to our planners and Leslie London, and also it involved the master plan. What this does is that resulting with this inventory determines how much state aid that we are able to get, whether it's 100% or 50 or whatever. And based on the answers you have in your packet there, we have 100% funding from the state, which is good news. It has to be submitted by October 30th, but we are required to hand it out to the council. There's no action to be taken. It's just noted as part of the agenda. If you have any questions, you can reach out to either me or Keith at any time before we submit it, probably before the 30th, if that's...
And you also did this last year, if I remember correctly.
Every year, yep.
And what was our score at last year's?
Again, 100%. We got all of our aid. We've always gotten all our aid.
Good. Thank you.
Thank you.
And just through you, Council President, the questions are significantly different than they have been over the last couple of years. There's an entire unweighted section that you'll observe when you look through the packet where they are soliciting feedback from the municipality as to whether or not the state can come in and be of assistance with various programs. So I thought that was an interesting new twist to the best practices checklist. But Ann did a good job. All the department heads were responsive. If the council has any questions, as she stated, please let us know, any feedback. But other than that, we will plan to submit by the state deadline.
Also, it will go up on the website once it's submitted.
That concludes my report, Council President.
Thank you. Township Clerk, Mr. Madden.
No report at this time, Council President. Thank you.
Okay, Township offices, committees, reports, anything?
Just one. Craftsman Farms had their 30th anniversary gala, and it was a huge success. And Emily had a video there, which was very nice.
I'm sorry I couldn't attend. I was there in spirit.
I was there. And we had the report I got back preliminarily was the gala was a huge success. And they thanked everybody who participated in the gala.
Thank you.
Okay, bids taken. September 18th, Lake Hiawatha Water Main Replacement, Phase 1. September 20th, Elevator Subcode Official.
Council President, if I may, the elevator subcode official, do we have a salary range on that we're bidding out for?
Well, prior to this, most municipalities in the state had an actual elevator inspector who was an employee. In this particular case, what a lot of municipalities are doing, and so is Parsippany, is we went out to bid and we're actually contracting with a firm to provide this service on an as-needed basis.
We used to have our own.
We used to have our own, that's correct. So if you take a look at Mike Hardy's purchasing report, he's recommending the appointment of this firm for a contract of 3 years, and there would be approximately 450 elevators to be inspected. And then we would establish the cost for each of those inspections by township ordinance.
Okay. I noticed on the bills list that we did have 2 elevator inspections.
Mm-hmm.
Are those the normal costs to have these inspections done?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, bids to be taken, October 17th, one new 2020 4x2 Class A chassis and rear loader for the sanitation department. October 30th, Knoll West Country Club irrigation system replacement. Quotations, proposals, qualifications, none. This time, I'll entertain a motion to open up the public hearing.
Motion.
Second?
Motion made by Mr. DePiero, seconded by Ms. Peterson. Roll call. Mr. DePiero?
Yes.
Ms. Grignani?
Yes.
Ms. McCarthy?
Yes.
Ms. Peterson?
Yes.
Mr. Carrippy?
Yes.
Floor is open to the public on any matter.
Okay, when you come up, please state your name and address. You'll be given 5 minutes.
Mr. Brancato?
I don't think it's on, Colette.
Sorry? Oh, I apologize.
Mr. Barrio?
Hold on. It needs the special touch of the clerk.
I think I got it.
Oh, I think you got it. Yeah.
Sorry. Sorry.
Well done.
I think you're out of a job.
You started getting
I
close.
think I'm out of a job.
It was a
now.
5. You got close.
Kevin, I really appreciate you getting that on.
Kevin Brancato, 14 Celtic Way. It's appropriate that you've got a committee going on the Knoll Country Club because I'm one of the men representing members of the former Knoll Advisory Committee, now the Mayor and Kemper's Focus Group. I'd just like everybody to raise their hands so you know how many of us are here. We came tonight to speak on the Knoll. I provided you all with a packet that has a summary of what I'm going to read into the record. It has, I was fortunate enough to be on the bid committee for the evaluation committee for Kemper Sports. I've got my notes indicating how I felt at that time. I have a copy of the contract, which we opened, and what we feel are pertinent clauses. So, with that being said, I'm going to read this into the record. In 2018, after 2 unsuccessful attempts to bid the contract of the then current Golf Pro, the township made the decision to request bids from golf management companies. I was fortunate to be asked to be involved in the evaluation of the bidders, Kemper Sports and Billy Casper Golf. I have provided you a copy of my evaluation summary along with my notes from the process. My conclusion was to award the contract to Kemper Sports for reasons laid out in my evaluation, which I hope you all will read. It's important to note, however, that the recommendation that the township hire a qualified person to oversee the Kemper operation for the town was not acted on. After 2 years of witnessing Kemper's performance, it has become very obvious to me that I made a mistake in my recommendation. Kemper was aware in April of 2018 that they won the award and knew that time would be of the essence in getting started because the 2018 golf season was already underway. Contracts were signed on June 1st, 2018. Kemper had 6 weeks to get their employees in line, have an operating plan in place, and otherwise be prepared to go on day 1. Unfortunately, this was not the case. In fact, the regular Golf Pro assigned permanently to the Knoll was not in place until September 2018, fully 5 months after they were first notified. Then he left after 1 week to play golf for 2 weeks. Essentially, between Kemper's late start, along with the weather, caused the 2018 season to be a total bust, which left many people unhappy with our choice. This year, 2019, was more of the same confusion, although marginally better. In my opinion, the main reasons are the turnover in the Kemper staff and a lack of oversight from the town. All of that being said, it's fairly obvious to me that we need to move on from Kemper Sports and take another direction at the Knoll. The concern as I see it is timing. We need to start planning a new start now. I've also enclosed a copy of the contract between the township and Kemper. I've marked clauses that upon investigation by the council could be areas of non-performance which I believe could and should be used to negotiate an exit from this agreement before the end of 2019. If we do give 6-month notice, it will leave Kemper as a lame duck contractor with less incentive to perform in the Knoll's best interests. It will also put the utility in a position once again of starting a new golf operation in the middle of the season which I believe could lead to a disaster like the 2018 season. Members will not tolerate that. I estimate that the membership fees collected to be between $500,000 and $750,000 annually, which represents a very substantial portion of the golf revenue. Members have already moved on, and many more are considering it. Why should we continue to put one of our main sources of revenue in jeopardy? I believe that the golf utility cannot absorb another lost season. My big concern is that we are out of time. What we really need to do is look at the future of the Knoll as quickly as possible and stop worrying about what is past. We cannot wait until June to figure out what to do while the utility slowly crumbles to the point that it could be beyond repair. We must move forward now. I urge you to take a positive action now before it's too late. So,
Sir, you have 30 seconds.
okay. Well, that's basically it, unless anybody has any questions.
Just an observation. I did travel to Galloping Hill to see a Kemper operation there. And their operation at Galloping Hill was outstanding. It was very impressive. Possibly because they had a local director who was in charge, not just Kemper.
Mike, I believe that 100%. And the man was qualified. He was a golf professional. He took golf management at Arizona State and was a college-level golfer. He knew the operation. He knew what needed to be done.
So the success at Galloping Hill might have been as much to him or more to him than to Kemper himself.
I think so. You know, we abdicated our responsibility to run our utility. We expected them to come in and do the job with no oversight and operate in the best interest of the town. Who in their right mind is going to do that? They're going to operate in Kemper's best interest. I don't believe they did that. Anything else? Thank you.
Thank you.
So you said two separate ones, so when I hand this, I hand it into two, sir, correct?
Kemper had an architect who redesigned Galloping Hill. Did an outstanding job. They said they were going to send him over here to evaluate.
Good evening. Bill Marshall, 30 Rockaway Place. This also concerns the Knoll, but more the catering contract.
Thank you.
And the renovations of the building. In July of 2017, the township entered into a contract with Knoll West Country Club LLC to provide catering and banquet services at both the Knoll East and West clubhouses. The caterer agreed to a monthly rent in the amount of $30,000 per month. The specifications for the contract spelled out planned renovations of both clubhouses, with renovations at the East to take place in 2017 and at the West in 2018. During renovations, the caterer was to pay a reduced rent of $15,000 per month. After renovations were completed, the rent agreed to was $55,000 per month. These renovations are also referred to in sections 5.3 and 5.4 of the contract. Had the township moved forward and completed the renovations, the revenue to the utility would have been increased by $300,000 annually. The catering contract is 142 pages long. There's about 1 page of that that spells out the responsibilities of the caterer to the golf operations. This includes providing food services for outings, which is another major revenue source for the utility. It is impossible to provide adequate oversight when responsibilities are not spelled out in detail. I suggest that future contracts be more specific. As Kevin noticed previously, there doesn't seem to be a qualified township employee overseeing Kemper Sports. The same can be said for the operations of the clubhouse and the oversight of the caterer. In closing, the township is costing no utility revenue by not having their own qualified person in charge that could push the renovations through and get them completed in a timely fashion. The contract expires in July 2021. I believe, instead of 2020. And there's another year on top of that with option to extend. The renovations are not undertaken. The utility will face another situation where there is only one bid for the contract. As rent is currently less than 1/3 of what it used to be before the facilities became dated, we need to get moving, get to work on this and get this done.
Through you, Council President, to both previous speakers. As I alluded to in my report with regard to the committee that was formed, I think everything that both speakers have brought forward are concerns that the council and the administration share, that were vetted when we did meet to discuss the contracts, both contracts, at a previous meeting. And I think all of those items, including what Mr. Brancato has presented, will be listed on that agenda when we meet in the next few weeks.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. Oh, hold on. Good evening. It's Alicia DiGiovanni, 109 Fox Hill Road in Denville. I have pictures and maps for you to look, please. I'm asking for assistance in the town for numerous concerns. I live right next to the new boat racks on 109 Fox Hill Road on Rainbow Lakes. Surprisingly, which I cannot understand, that there is...
Ma'am, could I ask you to speak into the mic a little bit, only for the
I'm
record?
sorry.
It's okay.
I forgot my music days. There's some major concerns as far as liability, safety, wildlife, and the list can go on. I live on 109 Fox Hill Road. Right next to me is now the new boat rack, which is a monstrous piece that is put up now. Yes, I am aware that RLCC, Rainbow Lakes Community Club, is now they made themselves mandatory to pay fines, and they seem not to follow their own bylaws. It was not voted as a community, and I know that is our issue that we need to address as a community. However, we're under your umbrella as Parsippany, and I ask for the plea here. It's right, as you can see, on top of my hedges. The proximity, there's no permit rules that I have been trying to find out, that I find extremely difficult. There are no permits, no guidelines that are needed for boat racks. And Parsippany Troy Hills is a large lake community. I think that needs to be looked at as far as liability and, again, safety. As you are all aware that we are very strict here in Parsippany for permits, as noted from friends of mine that are contractors and other contractors that looked at this. There is a major concern that the height is 8 feet by 5 inches, that it's monstrosity. There's no footing of a slope over 15% high. Concerning factor, there's no footing and there's no nothing. Supposedly it was not needed, and I have been dealing with zoning, construction, and variance, and also the tax assessing to try to help me. Why is this no guidelines with boat racks in a boat community? There's concerns that I'm afraid of gardening, concern for me, liability of people on that piece of property, as well as wildlife, and also me accessing the side of my property. Again, safety concerns, and the 4 leers of the boats are not at all strapped on. Somebody gets boat, falls off, or whatever. And there's additional concerns, mosquitoes building up. You'll see that there are there's water. We're dealing with some health issues here as well. I guess the old saying, ignorance is bliss. Yeah, I'm a recent master gardener, and we can go on the list of what is really a problem here with these boat racks. The other issue, when I was trying to see how do I address this on a visual sense, I would need a variance to get a fence higher to cover it. I've approached the possibility of doing an art piece that may not need a guideline. So again, I'm trying to work on the most amicable way, safety way, and for the best for the community. And for the community to be aware of why we do not have any guidelines for boat racks in a boat community. I think the other concern is that I'm wondering if my friend in Powder Mill can do the same thing, and it's going to be okay. So I plead upon you to look at this, as the power of the minds of doing something to address safety for not only people, but for wildlife that we need to preserve, which is now a large topic of everything. And also for the safety of me, of that one of those falling or sliding in the ice or whatever, because there's absolutely no footing. And I cannot believe I have been exhausting in every avenue of trying to see that there is guidelines. There is none. Can you please answer that for me?
Is there any
Is that your
ordinance? or-
Yeah.
question?
How is that overlooked in a boat community?
I'd have to take a look at the zoning ordinance and speak to the township planner. Have you spoken to the Lake Club about this?
I'm sorry, the who?
Lake community.
Yeah, the Lake Club.
I tried to amicably deal with the person who was involved with this, and it's forget about it. It's now there's just so much going on because Channel 2 News was just on 2 weeks ago about the liens and how it's not mandatory by Jay Weber. This actually made me wake up of what's really going in my backyard. I'm recovering from an 18-wheeler accident 4 years ago on 287, and this woke me up. This is amplifying what's going on in the world, that people do what they want to do because they think they can, and being bullied. I have been threatened.
Well, I think by leaving it in the hands of our attorney to have him look at things and to speak with the zoning. The
I
building
spoke to zoning, I
departments.
got to run around.
Well, you're
planner.
a resident, I'm sorry, but this is an attorney, and hopefully he will have
I
a little
hope
better.
so, and I thank you so much for helping something that we need to do here.
How close is the boat rack to your property line?
It's less than 2 feet in certain areas, and it's on a slope. No footing. I'm not an engineer. I wish I was. I'm trying to figure out my passion other than saving the ducks and the swans and the world. But it's just, I can't believe that it got passed.
And did zoning tell you it's not an accessory structure because there was no footing on it? Is that what?
Correct,
zoning-
that's exactly the angle.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, we're talking about, as you see the images, several boat racks. We've got mosquitoes. I'm not a rocket scientist. I might look like one, but I'm not. I'm very concerned with the community. I woke up, between dealing with medical stuff, I'm sorry. Maybe I care too much for people and what's going on in the community. Excuse me, this shit has to stop. The bullying has to stop. The palming has to stop. We all are in the same boat together, and no pun intended. We want what's best for our kids, our family, our grandkids. I hope you could find an answer, and I'd appreciate if there's anything I can do. On the side note, I want to thank you for your police department, for your engineer department, and all the other people that are trying to help. That I live right on Fox Hill. It's Indy 500, and I'm working with the traffic. I'm the woman who makes the peach cobbler and thanks people. So I think one's coming your way. But I just want to say thank you. I know it's like we're all up here being pissy, but I also want to say thank you for all your work because we're living in challenging times, and I appreciate anything that we can do, connect our hearts so we can expand and change on a positive note. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Through you, Council President, Mr. Madden and I can also circulate an inquiry to our colleagues throughout Morris County, both clerks and BAs.
Why are
to
you
see if
involving
there are
Mr.
other
Madden? I got nothing to do with
municipalities-
it. No, I'm just kidding.
See if there are other municipalities that regulate this.
Yeah.
And get copies of those ordinances that we can forward to Mr. Lott for his review.
Sure, no problem.
The other thing is too, okay, I'm gonna look like, okay, the lady's gonna save another duck. The other thing is I did inquire through NJDEP.
Okay.
One
Ma'am,
thing, if you
you're-
could just
You're out of
please-
your time.
If you could just please post more of that in the town hall so we can educate people of the laws.
Okay.
So we can save time around. I'll leave my pen here. And again, if there's anything I could do, I'd be happy to assist.
Thank you.
Thank you. Want my phone number?
You can leave it on the sign-in sheet,
You
ma'am.
can leave it on the sheet if you
Keep it
want.
on the sign.
Leave it on the.
Want this?
If you want to give it to me, sure.
If you don't mind,
Oh, no,
I'd
wait,
like to
take-
keep
take
it.
the
Yeah,
business
it's better
card,
to give it to the township attorney.
Ms. Giovanni, please take the business card, okay?
I will, thank you so much.
Please, did you put your phone number on there so
Yes, I
they
did.
can reach out to you?
Yep, I'll take a look at that. Thank you.
Go ahead, sir.
Thank you so much.
Hi, Pat Lanza, 20 Glatley Drive in Denville. And as you saw earlier, raised my hand as one of the Knoll people. I just have one simple question. What's the town's ultimate goal for the Knoll utility? Is the goal to return it back to it was before Kemper came in, where it was township run and run well? Okay? Or are we just going to see it go to, by way of just becoming a public entity, where you do some kind of land lease to an operator? As a 28-year member, I think it'd be, I'd like to know. I think the whole membership of the Knoll would like to know the answer to that question. What is the council and the town's direction for the Knoll utility? Thank you.
I think it's a committee, right, is going to make that determination.
Mr. Kazmark, you mentioned that the committee would be meeting in a couple of weeks. Mr. Madden, would it be possible for us to have a closed session on this evening, just to discuss what we've been hearing from the golfers, so that we have, maybe we can speed this up
I don't
rather
want
than
to. I don't want to
wait?
speak for Mr. Law. I think if it's relative to the contents of the negotiated contract, we could do it from that perspective.
That's
I
correct.
think talking about it in more general terms, that would fall into the open session category. But if you want to speak about the contract, we can add that to the
And
executive
that would
session.
be at the closed session that we could
Correct.
do that.
Wasn't
We'll add that
something
to the
committee is gonna
resolution.
be addressing?
We'll add contract negotiations, Kemper contract. Is that what you guys would like, according to Mr. Kazmark? You
Yes,
can add that to
please.
tonight's resolution then, and that's what we'll do.
It's up to the members of the council.
Okay. We'll put that on?
Sure.
All right.
Good evening. Good evening, everybody. I want to thank you for this opportunity to talk. He's gone. There he
He's
is.
here.
My name is Brad Muniz, 5 Ashland Road, Parsippany. I am also a member, or a former member, of the Knoll Golf Committee. I'm also a member of the Knoll Country Club. I want to thank everybody again for letting me speak. I want to echo the comments of the prior people that were up here, and I hope that you append their comments with mine. As I mentioned before, the town entered into an agreement with Kemper Management and have completely left them unattended. There's been nobody up there from the township overseeing. Certain people that have been affiliated or involved with the process were completely extricated from their involvement. The town has a fiduciary responsibility to oversee this asset. It is one of the largest assets of the township, and it's revenue producing. You can't abdicate your responsibility by allow them to just appoint somebody by proxy. They've appointed somebody as their superintendent, which has some connection with the town. For a little background, that individual has lied to me on 3 different occasions. He doesn't have any connection with the golfers, but you wouldn't know that because nobody from the township, representing the township, has any involvement with the Knoll to report back to you. Now, Kazmark?
Yes.
You mentioned this committee. Were you aware that there was a committee previously before Kemper was involved?
I was referencing a committee that the council formed 2 meetings ago.
I understand that. Were you aware that there was a committee previously?
Yes, it's established by ordinance.
Okay, so it was a committee of very dedicated people that were very interested in the Knoll East and West. I was appointed by Mayor Mimi Letts, and because I played the East a lot, and we were all dismissed out of hand by the administration, saying that I believe the words were we were elitist golfers. So that's, growing up in Lodi, New Jersey, I was never referred to as an elitist person. Okay, so I don't know why we were completely dismissed, but the administration chose to appoint people for a more diverse group. You had a group of individuals that were dedicated. They felt they were stewards for the asset and for the township to help protect that and help advocate. And I know that a lot of people that were here and people at the Knoll that are very interested in seeing it come forward. None of us, I have a group of 16 people that I play golf with. None of us were approached about this. So I don't know what constitutes diverse or having knowledge of the golf course, but I'll give you my ethnic and economic background, very diverse, and I played the Knoll 60 times this year. So nobody's ever asked me, what do you think's going on at the Knoll? Nope. You guys chose to politicize it and just say, let's get rid of the people that have all the institutional knowledge and completely disregard them. And I'm sure that these other people are knowledgeable. Hopefully they have some sort of financial background to be able to aid in that process, to give some insight, and hopefully they have some good knowledge and background as to relates to the Knoll. Because we don't, as golfers, we don't like what's going on there, and I hope that that you really move forward and clean up the issues there. I want to thank you very much for your time. You have a question for me?
No, I just want to make sure you just signed in.
I signed in.
Awesome.
Yep. So, any other questions? How much time do I have left?
Minute 20.
A minute 20. I can sing and dance, all right?
Use that to compliment.
Tell us about Lodi.
Much different than here. Much different than here. So, believe me, I saw a lot of politics in Lodi and didn't like it there. So, thank you.
My name, excuse me. My name is Bob Venezia. I live at 102 Brooklawn Drive. During the public session of the last meeting, one of the speakers remarked that it was difficult or even impossible to access council meeting videotapes on the township website. I can confirm his experience. At the time, Mayor Soriano cited antiquated technology as the reason why the town's current website cannot provide these videos in a timely manner. However, even using this outdated technology that we have, the town is currently producing video output within a day or two of the council meeting. Parsippany Focus is then able to take that output and post the video on its website within 2 to 3 days of the actual meeting. And using the same technology, videos of council meetings that were held not that long ago were made available to the public on the prior township website within days of the actual meetings. In summary, there seems to be no logical or acceptable reason why the newest version of the Parsippany website cannot provide council meeting videos on a more timely basis. And I'd like to know if there are any plans to rectify this situation. Thank you.
Through you, Council President.
Yes.
I'm going to call Mr. Kevin Brancato to come to the speaker, to the microphone for a little bit to help me with this, because that's the gentleman you're referring to. Kevin, can you help me out? Okay, thank you.
I actually was the person that brought that up last meeting. Afterwards, after the meeting, a person showed me that the videos are on the website backwards. So the first video I saw was August of 2018. When you scroll down, you get down to it's August of what, 2019 now?
Right.
We're still not as
I think it's up to September
fast.
now.
Yeah, it's still not as fast as Mr. Cahill puts them up on the Parsippany Focus. But I did send an email apologizing to the mayor.
Yes.
How did you get at?
You go on to transparency, and you
One
look
thing-
for council meeting videos.
Yeah.
And the first one that pops up is like August of 2018, and then when you scroll down, you'll see the more recent ones. But it's still not up to date with.
One thing I will agree with both of you, that it's clunky, and it needs to be fixed.
Yep.
Thank you.
Nicholas Homiak, 26 Oneida Lake, Hiawatha. I'd like to know, or for people to be transparent, how does the Knoll, as a public utility, and I think I did ask this question in the past and never gotten an answer, how does it help the average taxpayer or running the town at all as a revenue generator, other than just to compensate for itself as a golf course? I'd like to know, like, what is done with the money from that landscape. And my experience getting to know the new management, they seem to have to be more environmentally aware, because there was a lot of things that were just all over the place down there. They're starting to recycle better. They're starting to at least open up to some environmental issues, because it is, even though it is a golf course, it is first and foremost a landscape, and does include the river-sensitive areas and everything down there. I know this could probably never happen at this time, but they should close that road, the Knoll Lane or Knoll Drive, because all you do is you get people riding through there as a shortcut, and they dump all the garbage in the woods. And years ago, I remember when I was a kid, that was all private. So, yeah, turn it back to a dirt road, or put a gate up, which sounds ridiculous. And I wondered, what did the 2018 rain have to do with the Knoll's loss of revenue? Because if you remember, in 2018, there's quite a bit of rain. And I don't think golfers want to go out in the rain. So I was just wondering about that demise of the revenue, how much of it was related to the nature itself. And I guess that's the only questions I have for tonight. Just, I was surprised to know everybody's so dissatisfied, because I really don't know everything that's going on, but I just like to know how the...
Well, Nick, to answer your question, if it's raining, people can't golf. So you can't make money. So the more rain we get, the less people can go golf, and that's where you're not bringing in the money.
But the accusation was that it was the management that was the demise.
So, well, you just stated in 2018 we had a lot of rain, and you want to know how
The
that
fir-
affected the income.
Right.
First speaker on the Knoll, I apologize for getting you, Glenn, I believe. It was mentioned here, I put it down in a note. He said that there was a noticeable change in the operation related to revenue, and he quoted the year 2018.
Right.
In relation to the new management, or the people who had taken over. And I was just wondering, because I remember there was a lot of rain.
The
So-
rain did impact certainly did impact the revenue.
All right, but the way it was said, it was implicated that the new management at the Knoll was the cause for the revenue demise. That's the way I heard it. I didn't, you know. All right.
Thank you.
Through you, Council President, Nick, just to answer your question about the financing at the utility. The utility is a standalone utility. The revenue that's generated stays within that utility. That's the one utility that does not get commingled with the township budget or surplus offsets or anything of that nature. I could tell you that, to echo the Council President and the Council Vice President, we definitely took a hit in 2018. Actually, all three utilities took a hit based on the volume of rain that we experienced. And we did a preliminary analysis of the finances at the Knoll through the end of August, which the council looked at their September meeting. As the golf season comes to an end, we will finalize that analysis, and that again will be shared with the committee and then ultimately with the full council as they decide whether or not there should be fiscal changes, catering changes, management changes, whatever the design is going to be prospectively at the Knoll. I hope that answers your question.
I also found out they're using herbicides down there. And I don't think that's a good idea. Like in a big flower pot, or if they have a mulch field with flowers around a flag, human labor, you could pull the weeds out. You don't have to use herbicides. But they claim because they have a low labor force and the rush for time that they have to use a herbicide. And I think that practice should be ended.
Thank you.
James Griffey, Parsippany. I'm glad that the Knoll Advisory Committee's here. I may have some information that you may find useful about the superintendent from Kemper Sports. Also, I'm glad that there's 3 township attorneys here today, so next time that you want to transcribe something, hopefully you'll get it accurate, and you spend the money on the taxpayers when you're spending the taxpayers' dollars. Anyway, I'm here today because Mayor Soriano had made a statement at the September 17th meeting, and I just wanted to ask him a few questions regarding that. And just so the record is clear, this is what he had said.
Mr. President, I'm going to direct every member of council not to respond to any of the comments made by Mr. Carisi. We're currently in litigation with him.
And got behind the wheel and saw what had happened.
Can you start that
and saw
over
the
again?
documents.
We missed half of it.
Well, not only
As long
that-
as you don't take my time away from me.
No.
Thank you.
Mr. President, I will again remind
All right,
council
wait,
that
hold-
we're...
stop it again. All right, everyone got your message, but we can't hear what's being played.
I should have 5 minutes uninterrupted.
Go ahead and play it again.
I maintain it that last year, once I became fully aware of the facts and got behind the wheel and saw what had happened and saw the documents, that he was targeted as retaliation. President, so I would respectfully ask that the mayor, we talk about this in closed session tonight. It's on the agenda. Thank you, Mr. Lott.
Okay, so my first question is, Mayor, what documents did you review that you're referring to? That's the first question. The second question is, who targeted me? And the third question is, who retaliated against me? Now, I know, obviously, I appreciate Mr. Lott jumping in and shutting you down, because that answers my question that you're not going to respond because of litigation. So I'm asking you to take your own advice when you asked this council on September 3rd to release Raj Parikh's 50-page paper to public. So I'm asking you now to disregard the advice, take your own advice, and answer my questions. Will you do that?
I'm sorry, are you asking me to release the 50-page document?
No, I'm asking you to answer the 3 questions I just asked you. What documents did you review? Who targeted me? And who retaliated against me?
I'm not answering that question right now because
Thank
we're in
you.
litigation. However, I stand by my comments.
Thank you. And I'm asking you to take your own advice that you gave this council on September 3rd to release this report and discuss it in the public. As you said, you got the township attorneys, all of them are here. We could work, and I got my attorney here too. We could work it out right now. I'm asking you to be open and tell the people
we are currently
what
working
you're
it
referring
out.
to.
We are currently working it out
All
right now.
So let's talk about your recent press release. You keep saying that it's the Republicans that are doing it. It's the Republican wasteful spending of taxpayers' dollars. Did you forget that there's Democrats on the board here that voted for it too? Or are you just deceiving the public on purpose?
It's been a Republican administration that has
I just
ushered
want
this
to
in
know,
for
in your
years.
press release, you make no mention of any Democrats doing anything. You refer to the Republicans. I just want to know why you're deceiving the public. You're an intelligent man. You don't need to leave out the Democrats. You don't have to politicize
The
this.
proposal
I'm
was
speaking.
I'm responding. The
All right,
proposal, you
I'm
get
sure
your
you're
extra
running out of
time.
time.
Give him all the time he needs, okay? The Republicans on the council were the ones, and said it straight out, that wrote it out, the proposal.
You make no mention of who voted for it.
No, I don't.
Okay,
Because,
exactly.
because they wrote it.
But you don't mention who voted for it. But I'll move on.
We don't need to, you just did.
Right.
Thank you.
Right. Thank you. Let's talk about your campaign promise about cleaning up Parsippany. The only people who cleaned up were people from your campaign. Let's talk about them. Matt Clarkin, you brought him in at over $70,000, right? Never worked a day in his life at the township. You brought him in at a salary similar to Michelle Silver's.
He's more qualified than Michelle.
No problem. Tom Jones, brought him in at over $50,000, right? I don't know what his status is. Your campaign manager. Jonathan Nelson, $90,000. Anybody else?
Jonathan Nelson is gone.
Wait, but anybody else? Oh, wait, hold on. Your secretary, Sue, she worked on your campaign. $50,000. Anybody else? Yes.
Have you looked at her resume?
No, it's okay. Wait, anybody else? Yes, you're currently a council candidate's daughter was employed by the township at one point, right? I believe so, yes. Summer intern, check it out. Listen, I could go on and on and on. There's more, but I only get 5 minutes. Let's talk about how history repeats itself. Let's talk about your partner, Keith Kasmark, right? He's the mayor of Woodland Park. What he does is, he's similar to what you did. He brings in Sam Yodes to direct the PAL at $120,000 a year. It's the same individual that you waived health benefits for and gave it to him after 30 days. The only township employee ever to get that kind of benefit, that waiver by you, which Mr. Lott says you are entitled to do. You could waive it, but you don't waive it for anybody else. Just Mr. Yodice, who makes $120,000, knows nothing about Parsippany, and just happens to be, guess what? His master of ceremonies for his re-election campaign.
That, by the way,
Did you
was
wanna
brought
do-
in front of the council.
Okay, did you want to deny that he wasn't the master of ceremonies for his re-election campaign?
Keep talking.
Okay, thank you. I'll take that as truthful. Then, how much time do I have left?
A minute 20.
Minute 20. The next thing is Kemper Sports for people at the Knoll. What's interesting and what you may not know, and I'm just here, hopefully I can give you shed some light on it, is that gentleman, Osner Charles, had applied for the PAL position as well, as Mr. Yodice did. I don't know whether or not you knew that, but if you look at his resume, because I opened it, he has no experience at running a Knoll or 2 golf courses, let alone 1. Well, what I'm asking, and what I think I know, I pride myself on attention to detail and investigations. And what I can tell you is that if you call Kemper Sports, they will tell you, or I don't want to say that, but I would ask the council to direct, I wouldn't even say the town attorney or Mr. Parikh, who's here as well, because that would cost the taxpayers money. I don't want to do that. But I would ask you to do
30
this.
seconds.
30 seconds. I would ask you to do this. Chief Miller's in the back. He can conduct an investigation for free, and he would do an objective and thorough, great job. I'm asking you to direct him to see if anybody on this panel had contacted Kemper Sports and made the recommendation to have an Oz Charles placed as the director of the superintendent of the Knoll Golf Course. Thank you.
It's all yours. No. Thank you.
Pat Pataccia, 182 Hawkins Avenue. Mr. Lott, this is in reference to Mr. Yodice. He was hired on 3/4, that was his start date. His insurance began on 4/1, so that's less than a month. I've examined the township handbook, and nowhere does it say the mayor has a discretion to waive or to give other people insurance, to allow it. So where can I find this? In writing, where can I see this?
We have a self-insurance plan. I believe it's within our discretion as part of the self-insurance document to waive the requirements of the plan. I'll take a closer look at it tomorrow.
So if I ask for the self-insurance plan, if I
You can make the Oprah request for it.
Okay, thank you.
See no one else come forward, entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
Motion.
Oh, you can come on up, sir.
Nope. Oh, there you go.
No, we have somebody else coming up.
Go ahead, sir.
Good evening, council members. My name is Bill Posesnik. I live at 49 Long Ridge Road. Pudding Stone Developers is proposing a minor subdivision adjoining our neighborhood on an extreme steep slope property. They're opening up a grandfathered-in major subdivision that was approved 20 years ago. This area that they're opening up is a third of the entire area, but it only encompasses 3 lots. I think it's very bad because they're going to bring in 2,000 truckloads of soil on a 45-degree steep slope, which is this high. You can't stand on a slope this great. This is one of the wettest spots in the state. It's probably 100 inches of rain a year. 25 acres has an open drain across this property. It's a disaster waiting to happen. They're not proposing retaining walls on the site. They're not building any additional housing. It's just a way to get rid of soil from another development on Old Dover Road. There's alternative places that they put it which wouldn't affect the environment so extremely there. By opening up this grandfathered-in subdivision, they should abide by all the new laws that have taken effect in the state since that point in time. 2 main ones are affordable housing and also steep slopes laws. The steep slopes laws state that if there's more than an acre of disturbance or a quarter acre of impervious surfaces, there should not be any development on the site unless there's an extreme hardship. Putting a house in a different location on the site is not an extreme hardship on the property there. There's alternative sites that they could build on and fill in the soil on Old Dover Road, on part of the Central Park property that the town has rights to develop a school site and level a field there, or there's a utility right away between Glenmont properties there. They could fill in a site over there and not develop on a steep slope. Retaining wall in town here fell because of water. Here, you're going to have millions of acres of water coming down across this site. It's a disaster waiting to happen. It should be developed. And that's why we have the steep slopes laws. They're grandfathered in on the old approval, but now they want to open up. If they open it up, the approval, they should open up to all the new laws that have taken effect since that point in time. We're not trying to stop them from developing the property, but do it in a common sense way. The common sense way is to put what they have in place and put the soil someplace else. As simple as that. And these other sites are closer than this site to this development over here.
Council President?
Yes.
I have a couple questions.
Yes.
Let me start by saying, is there an application pending now at the planning board for this
It's gonna be
subdivision?
It's Monday.
October 21st.
Okay, so it's been noticed already?
Yes.
Okay, and it's at the planning board?
Yes.
Okay.
No,
Yeah, October 21st.
no, I think it's the Board of Adjustment.
They're going to Board of
No.
Adjustment study?
They're going to the planning board?
Yeah.
Well, that's what I'm trying to find out. So I can check tomorrow, because I'm just,
I thought it
became
was-
aware of
I thought it
this.
was
Jim, I know that it's the planning board.
It's the planning
because, you
board.
know, I had some discussion about it, so
Okay.
it is the planning board.
And there's no development proposed other than to fill the lot with soil coming from off-site?
Basically, what they want to do is just relocate. Right now, there's a cul-de-sac that has probably 10,000 yards of soil at the end of the cul-de-sac where they could build 2 houses right now.
Right.
They don't have to bring any more soil in to be able to build those 2 houses on those lots.
Okay.
They want to take away 9 and 2/3 acres of open space that was part of the pumping station that's part of this. There's basically 3 lots involved. And extend the lots with the whole length of their property so that they eliminate the open space. This becomes part of the properties. That's protecting the hillside there. The part that they already cleared in the other development, the noise level went up through the roof because you can hear everybody talking down at Central Park or Morris County. The trees act as a filter over there. There's nothing to filter anything. They basically clear-cut the property over there.
Are they proposing to build the 2 remaining homes at the end, or just fill the entire site that's not yet developed?
They're proposing going about halfway through and building the houses in the middle of
I see.
the site there. But they're right on the cul-de-sac. All the other homes are 50 feet from the street. They can build the other 2 right there 50 feet from the street without bringing one more truckload of soil in on the property there. They destroyed Pudding Stone Road, and they were supposed to repave that, but they delayed so long, the neighborhoods over there were going to sue the town, and the town ended up having to pay the $250,000 cost. Now, if they're going to bring in 2,000 truckloads of soil, that means there's 2,000 truckloads in, 2,000 truckloads out. The brand-new road's going to be destroyed again. And who's going to pay for it?
Right. So I would encourage you to go to the planning board hearing to express your concerns.
Yes.
All right,
We're
and
gonna
then
have the
I'll,
whole neighborhood there.
right, and I'll also speak to the planning board attorney tomorrow, right, about
Thank you very much
about
for
the
your time.
jurisdiction of the
Thank
board.
you.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Cup of coffee, it's not the planning board.
All right. You got it.
Eric Densmore, 95 Mara Road, Lake Hiawatha. Couple of things I wanted to bring up. Number one, this afternoon, I went to go see your paramedics to get my daughter's car seat adjusted, and I have to say, I've had this experience now about 3 times, and they do a fantastic job. And I think that's a great service that's offered to the people of this town. So I just wanted to give a shout out to them because I think they do a fantastic job on this service. The second issue that I'm kind of concerned about a little bit has to do with the process of transitioning from the plastic bags. I was speaking to the management of Food Town the other day, and I was asking them out of curiosity, have you heard anything with respect to the education or what type of transition process this is going to be? And she had indicated that she had not been in touch with anyone, nor had she been given any information since the ordinance passed. I guess my concern is we're already at October 15th. The holidays are kind of around the corner, and people aren't going to be paying attention to this, to the education process that we were advised of. And when it's time to make the change, it's going to be kind of abrupt, which is going to increase the costs of these grocery stores, which unfortunately they're going to have to pass it on to us as the consumer. So I guess my question is, what types of efforts are being made right now to the township grocery stores, ShopRite, Food Town, and whoever else may be really affected by this to kind of make the effort so this is a smooth and seamless transition? That's all.
Through you, Council President, we are in the process of drafting a letter. We've gone back and forth on some of the literature that has been produced relative to the plastic ban ordinance. It goes into effect February 6th, 2020. I would expect that by the end of this month, first week of November, there'll be correspondence going out to all business owners. Chad, our recycling coordinator, is in the process of assembling those addresses of who that correspondence is going to go to, along with the literature, which we've tweaked thanks to the help of the Environmental Committee over the last number of weeks. So I think, by the end of the first week of November, there will be correspondence which, predates the holiday season to some degree. Hopefully these business owners will be able to use a lot of their inventory during the holiday season. So I think the timing of the ordinance actually works in their favor. And this way they could be ready to go for that first week of February of 2020 when the law goes into effect.
Thank you. See no one else come forward, I entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
Motion.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. DePiero, seconded by Ms. Grignani. Roll call, Mr. DePiero?
Yes.
Ms. Grignani?
Yes.
Ms. McCarthy?
Yes.
Ms. Peterson?
Yes.
Mr. Carriffy?
Yes.
Floor is closed.
Okay, ordinances for introduction, none. Mr. DePiero?
Ordinance for second reading, ordinance 2019:64. An ordinance of the Township Council of the Township of Parsippany Troy Hills, Morris County, New Jersey, amending and supplementing Chapter 370, Taxation, Article 1, Hotel Motel Occupancy Tax of the Code of Parsippany Troy Hills. The notice for the ordinance above was published in the Daily Record, the official newspaper of the Township of Parsippany Troy Hills, on September 23, 2019. This ordinance was introduced at the September 17, 2019 regular meeting. Motion to accept that ordinance 2019:64 be heard in its second and final reading by title only.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. DePiero, seconded by Ms. Grignani. Roll call, Mr. DePiero?
Yes.
Ms. Grignani?
Yes.
Ms. McCarthy?
Yes.
Ms. Peterson?
Yes.
Mr. Carriffy?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Motion to open the public hearing for ordinance 2019:64.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. DePiero, seconded by Ms. McCarthy. Roll call, Mr. DePiero?
Yes.
Ms. Grignani?
Yes.
Ms. McCarthy?
Yes.
Ms. Peterson?
Yes.
Mr. Carriffy?
Yes.
The floor is open on this matter only.
Could it please be explained exactly what this tax is and how it works, in whose favor?
Sure, I can explain that. The mayor and I and Administrator Kazmark met recently on a series of hotel issues, and we noted as a result of that review that our current township ordinance did not provide for a penalty for those people who failed to pay the hotel tax on time. The statute actually allows the township to assess a 5% interest against unpaid taxes. So the amendment will accomplish that. We also noted that everybody who's required to pay the hotel tax is paying a tax, and there are no unpaid hotel taxes as of, I think it was August. So.
Thank you. I see no one else come forward. Entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
Motion.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. DePiero, seconded by Ms. Grignani. Roll call, Mr. DePiero?
Yes.
Ms. Grignani?
Yes.
Ms. McCarthy?
Yes.
Ms. Peterson?
Yes.
Mr. Carriffy?
Yes.
Floor is closed.
Whereas the above ordinance was read in title on second reading and hearing held thereon, now therefore be it resolved that said ordinance be passed on final reading and that a notice of final passage of said ordinance be published in the newspaper according to law. Motion to approve the resolution above.
Second.
Okay, motion made by Mr. DePiero, seconded by Ms. McCarthy. Roll call, Mr. DePiero?
Yes.
Ms. Grignani?
Yes.
Ms. McCarthy?
Yes.
Ms. Peterson?
Yes.
Mr. Carriffy?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Ordinance 2019:66, an ordinance of the Township Council of the Township of Parsippany Troy Hills, Morris County, New Jersey, amending and supplementing Chapter 91-2 related to the licensing of dogs. The notice for the ordinance above was published in the Daily Record and the official newspaper of Township of Parsippany Troy Hills on September 23, 2019. This ordinance was introduced at the September 17, 2019 regular meeting. Motion to accept that ordinance 2019:66 be heard in its second and final reading by title only.
Second.
Motion made by Ms. McCarthy, seconded by Mr. DePiero. Roll call, Mr. DePiero?
Yes.
Ms. Grignani?
Yes.
Ms. McCarthy?
Yes.
Ms. Peterson?
Yes.
Mr. Carriffy?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Motion to open the public hearing for ordinance 2019:66.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. DePiero, seconded by Ms. Peterson.
Vice versa.
Vice versa.
I'm sorry? Vice versa. So motion made by Ms. Peterson, seconded by Ms. DePiero. Roll call, Mr. DePiero.
Yes.
Ms. Grignani?
Yes.
Ms. McCarthy?
Yes.
Ms. Peterson?
Yes.
Mr. Carriffy?
Yes.
Floor is open. On this ordinance only. Seeing no
See
one
no-
else?
See no one come forward. Motion to close the public hearing for ordinance 2019:66.
Second.
Motion made by Ms. McCarthy, seconded by Mr. DePiero. Roll call, Mr. DePiero.
Yes.
Ms. Grignani?
Yes.
Ms. McCarthy?
Yes.
Ms. Peterson?
Yes.
Mr. Carriffy?
Yes.
Motion
Whereas the
passes.
above ordinance was read in title on the second reading and hearing held thereon, now therefore it be resolved that said ordinance be passed on final reading and that a notice of final passage of said ordinance be published in the newspaper according to law. Motion to approve the resolution above.
Second.
Motion made by Ms. McCarthy, seconded by Ms. Grignani. Roll call, Mr. DePiero.
Yes.
Ms. Grignani?
Yes.
Ms. McCarthy?
Yes.
Ms. Peterson?
Yes.
Mr. Carriffy?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Non-consent agenda resolution, 2019-203. Resolution determining the form and other details of $42,261,000 general obligation bonds, Series 2019, consisting of $22,803,000 in general improvement bonds, $1,757,000 open space bonds, $7,673,000 water utility bonds, $9,570,000 sewer utility bonds, and $458,000 golf and recreational utility bonds of the Township of Parsippany Troy Hills in the County of Morris, New Jersey, and providing for their sale. Motion to approve the resolution.
Second.
Motion made by Ms. Peterson, seconded by Ms. Grignani. Roll call, Mr. DePiero?
Yes.
Ms. Grignani?
Yes.
Ms. McCarthy?
Yes.
Ms. Peterson?
Yes.
Mr. Carriffy?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Resolution 2019-204. Resolution providing for the combination of certain issues of golf and recreational utility bonds of the Township of Parsippany Troy Hills in the County of Morris, New Jersey, into a single issue of bonds aggregating $458,000 in principal amount. Motion to approve the resolution.
Second.
Motion made by Ms. Grignani, seconded by Ms. Peterson. Roll call, Mr. DePiero?
Didn't we just approve that in a previous resolution?
They're all
They're
being
separate.
individually done.
They need to be
They're all being
separated.
individually done.
Oh, you do them in
There's-
total first, and then you do them separate?
Yeah, there's one global issue,
Right,
and
and
then
then-
there are four that are separated by utilities and by the general fund.
Correct.
Okay. You're up to me. Yes.
Ms. McCarthy? Ms. Grignani?
Yes.
Ms. McCarthy?
Yes.
Ms. Peterson?
Yes.
Mr. Carriffy?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Resolution 2019-205, resolution providing for the combination of certain issues of general improvement bonds of the Township of Parsippany Troy Hills in the County of Morris, New Jersey, into a single issue of bonds aggregating $22,803,000 in principal amount. Motion to approve the resolution above.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. DePiero, seconded by Ms. McCarthy. Roll call, Mr. DePiero?
Yes.
Ms. Grignani?
Yes.
Ms. McCarthy?
Yes.
Ms. Peterson?
Yes.
Mr. Carriffy?
Yes.
Motion passes.
R 2019-206, resolution providing for the combination of certain issues of the sewer utility bonds of the Township of Parsippany Troy Hills in the County of Morris, New Jersey, into a single issue of bonds aggregating $9,570,000 in principal amount. Motion to approve the resolution.
Second.
Motion made by Ms. McCarthy, seconded by Ms. Grignani. Roll call, Mr. DePiero?
Yes.
Ms. Grignani?
Yes.
Ms. McCarthy?
Yes.
Ms. Peterson?
Yes.
Mr. Carriffy?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Resolution 2019-207, resolution providing for the combination of certain issues of water utility bonds of the Township of Parsippany Troy Hills in the County of Morris, New Jersey, into a single issue of bonds aggregating $7,673,000 in principal amount. Motion to approve the resolution above.
Second.
Motion made by Ms. Peterson, seconded by Ms. McCarthy. Roll call, Mr. DePiero?
Yes.
Ms. Grignani?
Yes.
Ms. McCarthy?
Yes.
Ms. Peterson?
Yes.
Mr. Carriffy?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Resolution 2019-208, resolution of the Township Council of the Township of Parsippany Troy Hills establishing non-refundable application fees for filming permits. Motion to approve the resolution.
Second.
Motion made by Ms. Grignani, seconded by Ms. Peterson. Roll call, Mr. DePiero?
Yes.
Ms. Grignani?
Yes.
Ms. McCarthy?
Yes.
Ms. Peterson?
Yes.
Mr. Carriffy?
Yes.
Motion passes.
And congratulations, Clerk.
Thank you.
Consent agenda. Be it resolved, all items listed with an asterisk are routine and non-controversial by the Township Council and will be approved by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a council member so requests, in which case the item will be removed from the consent agenda and considered in its normal sequence on the agenda. Motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. DePiero, seconded by Ms. Peterson. Roll call, Mr. DePiero?
Yes.
Ms. Grignani?
Yes.
Ms. McCarthy?
Yes.
Ms. Peterson?
Yes.
Mr. Carriffy?
Yes.
Motion passes. Bills list.
Application?
Bills.
Payroll-
Oh,
payrolls
approval,
and bills.
I'm sorry, I thought we were doing that. Approval of payroll and bills list. CF Ancucci recommends authorization for payment. Authorization of payment on October 18th, 2019, regular and miscellaneous payroll, estimated at $1,650,000. Payment of bills from voucher list of 10/15 2019 through October